Okay, people, today we have a heist on our hands. You might be aware of a game called Burgle Bros, a 3-floor heist where you and your friends take the role of a crack team of burglars trying to get in, get out, and steal the loot. And each of those floors has a guard that will make your lives very difficult by following any of the noise that you make. And you'll be making that noise constantly because every room is packed to the brim with dangerous traps. But by manipulating patrol patterns and using your vast suite of abilities, you might be able to slip by relatively unnoticed and pull out that juicy bit of treasure from the safe. Intel from our man on the inside, Mr. Matt Less, is that right? Intel suggests that this was a good time, that its strengths were in its slapstick, its leanings toward emergent narrative, its unpredictability, and the crunch that seeps from every minute. This was a fine set of characteristics, which brings us on to our next topic. They did it again. It was 3 floors, now it's just 2. It was a facility, now it's a casino. It was a one and done, and now it's a campaign. And because it's a casino, there are guests that get in the way and make things tougher. Drunks, crowds, and undercover cops, all an unpredictable garnish on a system salad. You're now dealing with a safe that is harder to crack, with one of us having to be downstairs cracking codes, while the other breaks in up top. Each of us now has our own set of gear that we can customize for each individual mission, synergizing at an even higher level, busting walls, changing costumes, and spiking drinks. That can't be legal. None of this is legal. But here is the real rub. We have no idea what could be in that safe once it is opened. It could be anything at all. So as infiltrators, we need to adapt and improvise on the fly to get out safely. And one question remains. Is it any good? So Burgle 1 is an absolute favourite of mine. I played it a bunch on a holiday in Belgium, and it was continually tense and dramatic. The game, not the holiday. But if you've not played the original, you should check out Matt's review of it right here on shutupandsitdown.com. And I hope that my experience of teaching this game lines up well with presenting its rules. Your goal is to break into a facility, crack open the safe, and leave with whatever it is you find inside. You'll take actions on your turn, which are move, peek, or interact, which all do exactly what you think. And once your turn is over, the guard on your floor will move, dishing out heat if they move past or land on you and your friends. Too much heat, and you're out. The rules for these games spring from interactions and text on each tile and card, which makes the game so simple that you can teach it off a postcard. So, knowing the basic premise, I'm not going to get that far into what Burgle 1 was like, and instead focus on Burgle 2, the differences between both games, and which one is right for you. But let's start by talking about the elephant in the casino. If you know anything about Burgle Bros 2, you know that it should look like this. But soon after setting it up, the wobbly legs and unsatisfyingly curved floor will have you reducing it to this, and then to this. I'm not particularly aggrieved by this not quite working. I mean, it's a shame, but the game is more than playable in this alternate, flatter format, as was Burgle 1. Production is merely the shell to hold the rules, and this game is no exception. And we shouldn't get hung up on this stuff, because texturally, Burgle 2 feels so different, flipping the switch from breaking and entering to slipping betwixt guests at a bubbling party in full swing. It sells this idea in a bunch of ways, feeling very Ocean's 11 but more bumbling and ridiculous. It's present in things as subtle and aesthetic as the wardrobe change from the original or the names of the tiles. It's present in the pool and the lounge decks, the Weatherspoons carpet that the game sits on, bouncers instead of guards, and heat instead of stealth. But the icing on this thematic lasagna are the guests, who make the whole place feel alive, shifting and wriggling with potential. These guests are thematic and characterful, drunks that will slide you around, crowds to blend in with, and undercover cops that'll snitch the bouncer straight over to your location. And their presence and danger is mostly felt during that critical decision of safe peeking or speedy, reckless moving. Rushing ahead might be fine if it means you get rid of a prima donna or bust an undercover cop, but terrible if you run into a saleswoman who will glue you in place as the bouncer steadily approaches. But whilst Burgle 2 is definitely more characterful and playful in its choices of clientele, it is by no means more forgiving, ready to whack you round the head with a massive decisions shovel. And then I'll probably add in a safe that you previously just had to reach and then bust open now requires someone on the ground floor to relay the codes. An evocative mechanic that means you'll always be juggling both floors, keeping the game close and immediate. As well as this, guards now immediately move one space towards any commotions that you make as you smash through buffets and eat all the poker chips at the table games. That's a potential 4 movement in 16 tiles, meaning that nowhere ever feels truly safe. And when these patrol cards that program the guards' movement run out, the guards don't get faster, they don't reshuffle the deck, they just go straight to directly hunting the players, moving straight towards their location, an especially terrifying prospect when you consider that these rooms are more harsh and unforgiving. More eager to tick up and count down as the heat rises, selling that illusion of arousing suspicion rather than sneaking in the shadows. And then, when you make it to the end, when you finally crack open this safe you've had your eyes on for the whole game, this heist finale system comes along and just turns the whole game on its head for a couple of rounds. When you break into the safe, rather than getting a single item that'll be a pain to carry around, you now get a fresh rule set for what winning means in this game. I won't spoil some of the surprises, but you can make some assumptions based on the components on display here. The important thing is that they never push you towards an instant loss in the closing minutes. They'll mess up the game just the right amount to give you a fighting chance before gracefully bowing out. You're bracing for this dose of random that's going to take the game, shake you around, and make the ending climactic, and then you're done. The game is over, and your reward is taking a little sticker and affixing it to this trophy cabinet, adjusting the difficulty for next time, and getting a new ability for one of your characters. It's subtle stuff, but they're welcome additions to a game that is normally one and done, and can still be played as such once the campaign is over. But everything that made the original Burgle Bros sing is still here, in spades. You'll be placing yourself into somewhere you thought would be safe from patrols before a hurried rush of planning as the next card has a guard beelining straight for you. The ticking clock of dwindling decks pushing you to play faster and riskier, creating commotions for distractions, hot potatoing guards as you jump around each floor scrambling to get everything done in time, and running headfirst into walls like an ecstatic toddler. Those twists to the formula produce something that feels slicker, more stylish, more thematic, more rammed with opportunities for teamwork. When the game goes well, it feels like the systems are passing through your fingers like grains of sand, little manipulations leading to perfect outcomes, spooling maneuvers and patterns that cascade across the surface of the game. And when it goes badly, it's like trying to lob a potato at a seagull. So surely Burgle 2 is a win-win-win, an iterated variable design with heaps of replayability and challenge. Yes! But... okay, sorry, that was a bit harsh, and I'll foreground what I'm about to say next by saying that I bloody love both Burgle games, especially Burgle Bros 2, The Casino Capers. I might even like it more than the original. But there is one weird detail that I kind of want to zoom in on. So a lot of Burgle 2's default mode of play produces heaps and heaps of narrative, but it's narrative that feels a little less direct. You'll bump into random guests who'll do random things to you, you'll draw random cards from these event decks, and you'll discover what the finale is right at the end for a quick rules change. I do not think these are problems with the design. There is a perfect amount of randomness in this game, constantly producing challenge and depth. My issue with it might be that a lot of these events have the world happening to you rather than vice versa, which is something I find a little frictive when it comes to simulationist designs. In the original game, you were going too fast and fell off a balcony. There's a slapstick directness there rooted in action and result. But in Burgle 2, sometimes those interactions get a little strained. You go to the pool and a lifeguard snitches on your friend. You stumble into the count room, stuck talking to a saleswoman as a bouncer approaches, or a drunk pushes you into a locked cell. Sure, there is a narrative there, but it's a narrative that feels less direct and less yours. Is it fun? Absolutely. Is it the specific kind of geeky fun that I'm into? Mostly. To reiterate, this is barely criticism. Burgle 2 succeeds as a sequel in so many ways that it feels flippant and ridiculous for me to knock it down a few points for not succeeding in this very specific way I want it to succeed. And I think all the added variance and depth that this randomness offers probably offsets that little doubt in the back of my head that it might not be as clean as the original. In fact, I actually just deleted a big paragraph in this script where I compare these games to the PC games, RimWorld and Hitman, talking about how Burgle 1 is more Hitman because you do stuff to the world, and RimWorld is more Burgle 2 because the world happens to you. But then I realised I was being more than a bit ridiculous. The narrative doesn't happen to you in either of these games in any capacity because the puzzle is still front and centre, and it is as strong and razor sharp as ever in Burgle Bros 2. And even then, tempering that difference is an alternate way of playing the game, which has these guest counters be face up with different effects. And I might prefer this version. It's more clockwork, deliberate, puzzly, and interactive. And so that is a review of Burgle Bros 2, The Casino Capers. I probably would have spent more time talking about Burgle Bros 1 if I had a copy right here, but I don't, because I gave it to a friend. But, you know, Shut Up and Sit Down categorically recommends both Burgle 2 and Burgle 1. Fantastic games in a fantastic system, and probably one of, if not the best, heist game on the market. Oh, and as to which I prefer more, I think it might just have to be Burgle 2. I mean, if not just for the theme. I mean, a casino. What more perfect a setting for a game about trying and failing to manage risk, of watching the dice tumble through the air until they meet with the cruel green felt. That's a review of Burgle 1 and Burgle 2. If you like this video, there's tons more, and there's also a podcast that we do every week now where we talk about board games, and it's pretty great, if I do say so myself. I have to edit it, so it has to be great. Also, if you're in the market for some board game shenanigans, our convention, or Shucks, is happening later this month. You can find details about that somewhere on this screen, and until then, or until I next do a video, don't know when that is, see you around. Have fun with board games. Bye!